Can an Islamic bank be led by non-Muslims be any good? This is a question I constantly get asked about with Gatehouse Bank. And in this video, I want to assess whether that's a fair question and what the answer is. I'm also going to dig into their main products, Islamic mortgages and savings accounts, plus one other thing they do which most people don't know about. And I'm going to see how they stack up against the competition. And as someone who has both used their products and has spoken to the management team, I'd like to think I'm in a very good place to be able to shed some light on this subject. For those of you that have just pressed the subscribe button and are new to this channel, I'm Ibrahim. I'm the co-founder of Islamic Finance Guru and Curate Capital. We manage investments worth over $150 million for Muslims globally, and this is the next installment of our very popular review series. Right, let's begin. Gatehouse Bank is a UK bank that does three main things: Islamic home finance, savings accounts, and build to rent property development and management. And the last of those things is super interesting. And Gatehouse have quietly grown that into a juggernaut over the years, to the point now where I suspect this is actually a key driver of the overall growth of the business right now. Effectively, I don't think it's crazy to say that Gatehouse is a property developer and manager with a bank on the side. That is not to say that Gatehouse have stopped financing, by the way, by no means. They have financed over £1 billion of Islamic mortgages since they've started, and they hold 1.2 billion in savings as well. And they have also recently agreed a deal with a company called Colcap to finance £650 million more of Islamic mortgages over the next few years. And so they have got the money and they are actively deploying and giving out Islamic mortgages. They've been profitable for the last 5 years, and they run a pretty solid business from the looks of it, which really is a good sign for us as clients because we want them to be stable and here for the long term. I have previously had a Gatehouse Islamic mortgage, and I would happily go for one again with them if the rates are the cheapest in the market. For me, that's how I think about it, and I think that's the way the majority of people think about it. Right now, they are not the cheapest when you compare them against their main competitor, StrideUp. However, when it comes to buy-to-lets, as you can see, they are currently the cheapest. And there is currently a pricing battle that hots up every so often between Gatehouse, between StrideUp, and soon with Offer entering the market as well. Ultimately, I think that all three are pretty solid players and pretty solid options. And I would just go personally with whoever agrees to finance you, because some may not agree to finance you, whoever is the cheapest, and then I would look at whoever is giving the best service. So if you've got someone who's able to finance you, someone who's pretty cheap, they've all given you the same deal, then I would look at the customer service. I won't really over-index on customer service early on because, frankly, you go through 2-3 months of pain if you have some difficult customer service. But then after that, it's just a standing order, direct debit to the bank, and you don't need to worry about it too much. But having said all of that, we will dig into how Gatehouse's customer service is in a second. But first, let's cover off the other major product Gatehouse offers: savings accounts. Gatehouse Bank will bump up its rate according to its need for capital, and right now it's pretty obvious it isn't necessarily offering market-topping returns. Even among Islamic banks, you can access higher rate paying Islamic banks via raising people like KFH, for example. The Gatehouse offer 95-day and 120-day notice accounts, as well as their term deposits for various different lengths as well. And they also offer an instant access deposit as well as that. So they've got a full product range when it comes to savings accounts. Right. Now let's turn to what customers actually said about them. Overall, their Trustpilot rating is 4.3, which is pretty solid, though clearly some room for improvement there. The good things that their customers consistently said when you look at their reviews were they have good rates, they have an easy to use app, they have a simple process, they have multiple products available, they're professional, sharia-compliant, and they like the good customer service overall. The negatives were, and I find this hilarious because it's almost like they're the opposite of the positives. So the negatives were slow process, strict criteria, hadn't heard of them. The app wasn't very intuitive. The withdrawals can take a while. They're not instant. The solicitors they're using are pretty slow, bad customer service. So I do find that pretty funny. And I think what it suggests is that generally speaking, Gatehouse is pretty good most of the time, but then every so often you will hit a bit of a pothole and maybe the customer service dips a bit. But overall, 4.3, the majority of customers are pretty happy. The big question that we always ask in these surveys, and we had about 130 responses to the Gatehouse survey, so it's pretty decent survey size. The product market fit score. How disappointed would you be if Gatehouse Bank didn't exist? They got a resounding 80%, which is the highest I think we have seen in our reviews thus far. Clearly, customers, whilst annoyed and quibbling at various small things, fundamentally like Gatehouse and deeply value the offering that they have. And this isn't just the non-Muslims, by the way. This is by and large the Muslim community and Muslim customers who are saying that, as that's where our audience is, the 130 or so people who we asked this question of. So what are the alternatives to Gatehouse Bank? Well, in the Islamic mortgage space, we have StrideUp, we've got Offer, and then if you're going for slightly larger houses or projects or commercial development, or you are an overseas Middle Eastern person coming over to the UK, then you've got Al Ahli, KFH, QIB, Habib Bank AG Zurich, Al Rayyan, and BLME. All of these guys do actually offer Islamic mortgages, either commercial or residential. And it's a bit of a hodgepodge, and it really depends on their particular criteria are at that particular time. Of those, therefore, I think the realistic UK mortgage options for people buying a house are for sure Gatehouse and StrideUp, and you should probably give someone like Al Ahli a bit of a knock on the door, and maybe try someone like BLME or KFH as well, although not active in the market quite yet. In the savings space, you have again the same suspects, and in this case it is actually quite easy to access these Islamic banks, because unlike with home finance, they do actually put out their services for savings accounts very proactively, typically via a platform called Raisin, which you can use to access their savings accounts. So that brings me to my question that I started with. Is a bank run by non-Muslims any good? Well, the first thing to note is that when you do further digging, I think that's a tad unfair. The bank is largely owned by Kuwaiti individuals and the Kuwaiti government. Sure, it does have non-Muslim directors and leadership, as well as Muslim directors and leadership, and I would suggest that the majority of its workforce is probably not Muslim. But is that a problem? Based on its own customer feedback and the provision it has given for UK Islamic finance in the UK since 2007, at a time when many others have exited the market, I really don't think so. I genuinely, when I looked at the reviews, I was expecting mixed reviews based on the feedback that I've had from the market. But when we put this out to survey, I was genuinely and pleasantly surprised, and I saw the positivity about Gatehouse in those surveys. But where I think the criticism does have a valid point is for the Islamic home finance products and its Islamic savings products. Gatehouse Bank is serving the UK Muslim community, and to do that well, they need to intimately understand their customer base, how it's evolving, and to be seen as part of the community in a more substantive way. If I were Gatehouse, I would work hard to ensure that money is being spent in doing proper community outreach. This will help the bank better understand its customers, innovate on a slew of new products that are available out there. It's blue ocean. There's so few Islamic products out there that Gatehouse could really clean up if it actually went and put out a whole bunch of financial products. And if it does all of that, Gatehouse should be able to retain its leading position in an increasingly competitive space. There are new entrants, and very, very serious new entrants coming into the market. And for the first time, I actually think, we had about 5 years ago, we had a bunch of Islamic banks or neobanks that popped up. And I wasn't really optimistic about any of them because the people behind it and the entire infrastructure and the funding wasn't serious. But the new guys coming in are incredibly serious and very, very realistically going to take significant market share from Gatehouse. So Gatehouse probably could do well to focus on the advice that we've just discussed. And it's not necessarily even massive things. I would look at backing Islamic charities rather than just mainstream ones. I would look at doing initiatives with them. You've got Muslim Hands, Muslim Aid, Islamic Relief, Ummah Welfare Trust. These are large Islamic charities that Gatehouse Bank could work with and actually earn some nice brownie points. They could sponsor some key community events where large amounts of the Muslim community are going through. They could hire a bunch of Muslim, male and female, relationship managers that are active within local communities. These are easy fixes, but the effects will be very, very significant and positive, I think, for Gatehouse's bottom line, ultimately. So folks, what have you found useful from this review? Do let me know in the comments below about your own experiences as well about Gatehouse, as well as who we should review next. We have done detailed reviews of a number of other companies as well, such as StrideUp, Wahid Invest, which you can see on the screen now. Check them out as well, and make sure if you're looking for an Islamic mortgage or investment product, you can use our comparison tools and reviews on the website as well. The link for that is in the description below. Also, Jazakallah khair for your support. Do press on that subscribe button if you haven't already to help us grow this YouTube channel. Until next time, Assalamu alaikum.